Ferrari is a name so deeply sewn into the fabric of motorsport that their racing successes are common knowledge even to those who've never watched a race. Be it with their famous string of Le Mans wins through the 60s, their recent reprisal of that spot in Hypercar a couple of times, or the fact they are the most successful manufacturer to have ever competed in Formula 1, the marque is synonymous with speed. With so much cachet in the motorsport world then, surely they were better positioned than almost anyone to create a customer racing machine to take on IMSA's WSC class. With the opportunity to bolster their racing image in North America and maybe make some money doing it, Ferrari set about putting together plans for a brand new prototype racing car. With an engine derived from an F1 V12 and the help of race car design and construction firm Dallara, Ferrari sought to propel the prancing horse to the top of IMSA's formidable prototype class. In 1994, IMSA introduced the World Sports Car class, an open-top prototype class not to be confused with the Group C World Sports Car Championship that folded just a year prior. The class was very similar to what would be called Le Mans prototypes or LMP cars in European competitions. Ferrari was no stranger to open-top prototype racing, but by the early 90s it had been 2 decades since the firm last developed such a car. And so to be competitive, they would need to employ not just the best minds at Ferrari, but from all of motorsport. Ferrari themselves developed the tub around which the car would be built, constructing a carbon fibre and aluminium honeycomb structure that would form the backbone of what was to be in essence a widened and enclosed Formula 1 car. At least that was the mission. Ferrari also developed the engine that would be powering it. Being built for the IMSA WSC class meant that the engine used had to be derived from that of a road car. So what's the F1 connection? Well, for the upcoming F50, Ferrari had modified the design of their 3.5-litre V12 F1 engine to create a 4.7-litre V12 worthy of road car flagship status. It was this engine, reduced in displacement to just shy of 4 litres for regulatory purposes, that would power the new prototype. It was good for just under 650 horsepower and could rev up to 11,000 RPM. Such a scream would surely strike fear into the hearts of competitors all by itself. The car would be named the 333 SP, 333 referring to 333 cc's per cylinder-ish, and SP referring to sports prototype. The remainder of the car would be designed and constructed in partnership with Dallara, a successful Italian race car manufacturer well versed in the design and construction of customer racing machines. Under the leadership of technical director Mauro Rioli and Dallara founder Gianpaolo Dallara, they designed and built the bodywork for the 333 SP, as well as repackaging Hewland supplied gearbox components in a bespoke casing designed specifically for the car. The 333 SP would be a customer car, meaning Ferrari would supply them to customer teams as opposed to managing the racing efforts themselves. The car was unveiled in late 1993, and just to make sure everything was going to stay on track, the legendary Tony Southgate was brought on board as a design consultant just ahead of the car's debut in early 1994. Being Ferrari, they didn't have a hard time finding customers to run their new machine. On debut, partway through the 1994 season, 3 teams would be racing 333 SPs, including Momo, Scandia Motorsport, and Euro Motorsport, who were running 2. The car's first race was the 2-hour event at Road Atlanta, which saw a 1-2 finish for the Ferrari, with EM car number 50 winning in the hands of Jay Cochran and Momo not far behind. This would be followed by an even more outstanding result for the new car as they fully occupied the podium at Lime Rock Park. This time with Momo's number 30 car taking the top step in the hands of Gianpiero Moretti and Eliseo Salazar. The Momo pair won again at the following race at Watkins Glen, then a 3rd time in a row at Indianapolis, again ahead of a second Ferrari, before those top 2 swapped places at Laguna Seca, handing victory to the Scandia Motorsport car of Andy Evans and Fermin Velez. The final 2 rounds went the way of Bricks Racing's Jeremy Dale, but Ferrari had firmly put their stamp on the competition, winning 5 races in a row, including the debut event. It doesn't get much better than that. Unfortunately, due to the late entry, none of the Ferrari runners were able to take overall championship victory, despite Momo getting tantalisingly close. But the show goes on, and the 333 SP was one to watch. For 1995, the cars would be supplied to customers with slightly altered bodywork. mostly at the front with the aim of increasing downforce. However, the nature of a customer car is that each team purchasing and running 333 SPs made their own minor adjustments and tweaks to meet their own specific requirements, meaning details differed slightly between many of the cars. After an excellent debut year, hopes were high heading into 1995 that the 333 SP was a champion in waiting. With Momo already getting so close, there was no reason to doubt the optimism. Like 1994, the Ferraris were being run by a handful of teams, including Euro Motorsport Racing, Scandia Racing, and Momo. In IMSA's opening round, the famous 24 Hours of Daytona, 3 of the 4 Ferraris entered suffered engine failures during the race, leaving only EMR's car number 50 alive by the end. They crossed the line second in class, and a slightly disappointing 8th overall, finishing 40 laps behind the class-winning Brix Racing Oldsmobile. Things did pick up though, as Sebring was won by Scandia's number 3 Ferrari, driven by Fermín Vélez, Eric van der Poel and Andy Evans. This was followed by an exceptionally strong season for the 333 SPs, with wins in Halifax, Lime Rock Park, Texas and Phoenix, and with at least one Ferrari on the podium in all the other races too. Only really facing serious competition from the Dyson Racing Run Riley and Scott Fords. The opportunity to compete in every race was, however, enough to tip the scales in Ferrari's favour, earning Ferrari Constructors' Championship victory over Ford and Scandia Racing driver Fermín Vélez Drivers' Championship victory just 2 points up on Ford's James Weaver. Ferrari had taken on IMSA and in just 2 years, beaten it. The 333 SP was undeniably an excellent race car, but despite the project's North American focus, it was a Ferrari after all, and so it should come as no surprise that someone took it to Le Mans. After the reliability trouble they'd had at Daytona, the decision was taken to slightly detune the engine for Le Mans in order to try and improve reliability and survive the grueling race. They also increased the size of the fuel tank, as was permitted by the ACO. Euro Motorsport Racing braved the gauntlet, representing the first new Ferrari prototype at Le Mans for over 20 years. They entered just one car, driven by Massimo Segala, Jay Cochran and René Arnoux, and to put it mildly, it wasn't one for the history books. The car retired with an electrical failure just 7 laps into the 24-hour race, the second worst result for any of the cars that made the start. Still, there was always next year. Having won the IMSA WSC class in 1995, the 333 SP runners, Scandia most of all, faced the difficult task of trying to keep hold of the crown. Despite another strong showing though, including very consistent podiums and victories for Momo at Road Atlanta, Lime Rock Park and Watkins Glen, the Ferraris weren't able to hold back the advancing Riley and Scott Oldsmobiles, losing significant ground to them in 1996 and ultimately tying with them in the manufacturer's standings come season end. The Drivers' Championship too was close, however Doyle Racing's Wayne Taylor took the win, driving an Oldsmobile, 15 points ahead of Momo's Max Papis. The backward slide continued into 1997, as despite the Ferraris continuing to be consistent podium threats, including Scandia Racing's win at the 12 Hours of Sebring in the hands of Yannick Dalmas, Stefan Johansson, Fermín Vélez and Andy Evans, the 333 SP was ultimately bested again by Dyson Racing's Riley and Scott Mark III, this time powered by a Ford engine. Ford beat Ferrari by 6 points in the manufacturer's standings, and Dyson Racing's Butch Leitzinger won the Drivers' Championship ahead of 2 of his teammates. At Le Mans in 1996, the 333 SP had qualified second overall and was running quick on race day, setting the fastest lap of the entire race, before losing out thanks to an accident 208 laps in. 1997 was better in many ways. The front-running 333 SP of Moretti Racing was able to complete the entire 24-hour event, ending the race in 6th overall and 3rd in its class. However, the winning Yost Racing TWR Porsche WSC 95 was very much a direct competitor to the Ferrari and had proven significantly more capable. Heading into 1998, work was still underway to make the most of the 333 SP platform, with American teams continuing to modify their existing cars and Michelotto beginning production of a modified version of the car geared more towards European competition, broadening the number of teams who would ultimately choose to race the cars. In the US though, the landscape had shifted, with the revival of the United States Road Racing Championship, which was parallel to IMSA, and the Daytona 24 Hours was now the USRRC's opening round. At Daytona, the 333 SP reasserted itself in a major way, taking a historic overall victory in the hands of Gianpiero Moretti, Ari Luyendyk, Mauro Baldi and Didier Teyes. They finished 8 laps ahead of the second place Porsche 911 GT1 Evo, a car that in the now relatively mature GT class represented serious competition to the Ferrari. Make no mistake, their win was on merit. In the USRRC, they also won the 6-hour race at Watkins Glen. The same team also won the 12 Hours of Sebring in 1998, now IMSA's opening round, a lap ahead of the Peñas Esperante GTR1 and Porsche 911 GT1 cars that completed the podium. Like the USRRC, the Ferraris performed well in IMSA, regaining the ground they had lost in 1996 and 1997 to take the manufacturer's title once more, though the drivers weren't so fortunate. Over in Europe, the 333 SP would appear in the 1998 International Sports Racing Series, the predecessor to the FIA Sports Car Championship. To say this went well for the Ferrari teams would be an understatement, as Ferraris won 7 out of the 8 events, only losing out to Ford in the championship's final race in South Africa. It would be fair to say the 333 SP had dominated ISRS, and with a strong showing too at the 24 Hours of Le Mans, taking LMP class victory and an overall 8th place at the peak of the GT1 era, the Ferrari 333 SP had successfully made its mark in both North America and Europe. Heading into 1999, the 333 SP continued to perform well in the ISRS, now called the Sports Racing World Cup. However, it wasn't able to pull off yet another sweep of the season, as competitors started catching up. It was still good enough for championship victory, but the trend was clear. This was true across the board, especially as 1999 saw the introduction of BMW's asymmetric LMP class B12 LMR, which exploited the rules to reduce the front cross-section of the car and therefore drag. The LMP racing scene of 1999 just wasn't the same world the 333 SP had been built for, and the LMP class was being taken over by a new generation of sports car. Within just a year or two, the once mighty Ferrari 333 SP would be all but obsolete. 2000 saw continued success in the Sports Racing World Cup as the ascendant factory outfits of BMW and Audi didn't contest the series, though as had been the case in 1999, Lola-based customer cars proved a consistent threat to the now aging Ferraris. In 2000, production of the 333 SP ceased, an impressive 7 years after the car had first been unveiled. Many teams would continue to run the car into the early 2000s in various championships, with one even replacing the mighty Ferrari V12 with an LMP staple Judd V10 for cost and longevity. They even managed to win at Watkins Glen with the new configuration in 2000, but none was ever able to achieve the heights that the car had seen in its more distant past. The Ferrari 333 SP doesn't seem to get the kind of recognition other Ferrari race cars do. It doesn't seem to feature as prominently in the automotive zeitgeist as its late 90s, early 2000s LMP successors. Maybe that's just me. Let me know how present the 333 SP has been in your mind over the years. Perhaps this is due to the fact the car was never campaigned by Ferrari themselves, but there's no doubt it was stunningly successful, evidenced further by the fact that 40 chassis were built by Dallara and Michelotto combined, a significant number for a customer race car of this level, and testament to the confidence and excitement teams had for the car. Though it's worth noting not all of these were actually raced, with a couple having appeared for sale almost completely unused in the years since. It appears a small number may have been purchased as a literal investment vehicle by prudent speculators. But that's neither here nor there, and certainly doesn't detract from the point. But when it comes to LMP success, nobody can hold a candle to the incredible Audi R8. Channel members had early access to this video. To support Automobilistic and get new videos up to a week early, click the join button below. Thank you so much to existing members, your support means the world. Thanks for watching, leave a like if you enjoyed, and until next time, goodbye.